and I was accused of calling for someone's assassination. These are outright, incredible, galling lies from people who have a history of dishonesty.
They hate me. Of course they do. So, racists hate me, but I'm a white supremacist.
Think you've seen heated debates before? Wait until you watch Milo leave opponents scrambling for words. Kicking things off, this debate wastes no time diving into controversy, and what's said in these opening moments sets the tone for everything that follows.
And the fact is that I'm not the first or the last person to have been on the receiving end of this kind of onslaught, and these are not people questioning what I'd said. From Milo and from a group of people that he supports and encourages. And you know, if I was in that situation and supporters of mine were to do this kind of thing, I would of course turn around and say, hey, this is not cool, this is not okay. But instead of which, you know, egged on by a community of a deep-rooted misogynists, this is the world that we now live in. And it's not just me, lots and lots of women have been affected by this, including teenagers, including women from all around the world.
She makes her case, but Milo's response cuts straight through and it changes the whole tone of the discussion.
Hard to believe, isn't it, that this
well, why have your army reacted like that? You can't support those comments.
No, of course not, but here's the thing, I understand why Kate doesn't understand how fame works, but I do. And the thing is, you know, I'm not particularly interested in a professional provocateur who goes out and says deliberately outrageous things, like I do, turning around and then playing the victim when she doesn't like ridicule or criticism afterwards.
I don't say anything outrageous.
Ridicule, let me finish, I'll let you finish. I'll let you finish, so stop. You know,
no.
After she lost the debate, as feminists very often do these days, because they don't have facts on their side, you know, she turned around and she did what feminists always do, which is confect a sob story. Now, Kate is, like me, a professional provocateur, but only one of us plays the victim afterwards. Now, it's interesting, you know, if we get back to the question, it's interesting that, you know, that it's even being framed like this at all, because what the research shows, the Pew Global data from 2014 shows, is that actually it's men who get more abuse online than women. It is men who get more death threats, it's men who get more violent threats. The only thing that women beat men at, and this is Pew Global data, is the gold standard of research, the only thing that women beat men in is cyber stalking. And guess what? A lot of the people doing the stalking are other women. What social media shows isn't that men hate women, it's that women hate everyone. Okay. And that women are the primary... Let me just finish this. Let me finish this point. I promise I'll be quick.
That's an outrageous thing to say.
I promise I'm going to qualify. I'm going to explain what I mean by that, right?
It's amazing.
Not only are men... I'm going to get to you, Connie.
Okay, explain that to my four daughters, what you just said.
Not only... Take the camera off it.
Not only...
This is
not only...
Free speech.
Not only...
Speech doesn't mean that it's not outrageous.
Well, we'll talk about your free speech about Tim Hunt in a minute. Not only are men the primary victims...
This is the man who
Not only are men the primary victims of this, but women are the primary perpetrators.
Wait, let him finish.
Now, it's interesting, isn't it?
Why should we let him finish?
How much time is he
getting?
Okay.
And just when it seems like he won't get a word in, Milo fires back with a comeback that cuts straight through the noise.
Connie went on Twitter recently and said he wanted somebody assassinated.
No, I didn't. Okay. You're a liar. Yeah. You lied about Tim Hunt. You lied about Tim Hunt, and now you're lying about me.
He said he wanted
please, Milo, let Connie.
Shut up.
Listen,
if
I were to leave you all, if I were to walk out of the studio now and leave you all to it, mayhem would ensue.
Vicky, if you were to walk out of the studio, I would come with you, because I don't believe you should be giving airtime to someone who's a serial
Connie, you are...
Wait a minute.
Damn, what is that, bro?
I did this poll online.
Yes, it is.
What would you rather your child had, feminism or cancer?
Yep. And 22,000 people voted, and people voted in favour of cancer.
That's a good scientific thing.
What the statistics show us is that in just 2 years, the number of women who identify as a feminist in the US has gone from 28 to 18%. The number of British women who identify as feminists has slumped to an all-time low of 7%. Why? Because these are the kinds of representatives of feminism. Professional provocateurs who play the victim after the fact, and professors of science journalism who deliberately misrepresent statements by Nobel Prize-winning scientists in an attempt to end their career, who repeatedly lie to journalists, BuzzFeed, The Daily Beast, the BBC, all of them have had to issue
you're a liar.
All of them have had to issue corrections over statements you made.
People can just look this up.
And this, of course, is a professor of science journalism who fabricated her CV as well.
We have to get a response from that. Audience in a minute.
I'm very much on your camp on free speech thing. It is disgusting and deplorable.
You are a liar.
It's disgusting and deplorable why anybody would want to send anybody that kind of racist abuse. It's awful. I would never want to be in the same room as somebody like that. However...
And yet they're your followers and your fans.
You don't even have...
Let's hear the however.
However, I am not responsible for what other people put on Twitter. 150,000 people follow me on Twitter, 50,000 on YouTube, 75,000 on Facebook. I am not responsible as a public figure for what a tiny minority of idiots say to people that I disagree with. Yet I'm held accountable for it in a studio, and I was accused of calling for someone's assassination. These are outright, incredible, galling lies from people who have a history of dishonesty.
That comeback hit hard, but trust me, the next one is even sharper.
You lied about your bylines, you lied about your qualifications, and you lied about Tim Hunt. Professor of Science Journalism, you should be ashamed of yourself.
Okay. You're a woman. Be an adult, please.
You have got about 40 seconds to respond, Milo, and get the last word in here.
This is
a lot of accusations. It's time.
Very straight.
Lots of people talking.
This is very straightforward. Let's not make it about me. You've got lying feminists throwing accusations. Who cares?
Okay, now we've just been accused.
The fact is that the research does not support the premise of this question. It does not support them. It does not support any of the stuff.
And just like that, Milo ends the debate exactly how he started it, unapologetically sharp. Next up, a liberal student decides to take a bold shot at Milo, openly calling him a hypocrite in front of everyone. What happens next? You'll want to see for yourself.
Okay.
You've gone on a rail about practice.
Sure.
You have gone on religion and how say Islam is entirely, completely bad. Yet you refuse to go Catholics in your own religion. Remember the origin of the word faggot? That was when Catholics were burning gays on a stick. And what about the Republican Party? Have you seen their platform? It's the most...
Why do you think I like Republicans? Well, I like Trump. I don't like Republicans. Why do you think I like Republicans? I've very often said the opposite. I think they've been total with blacks and gays. They haven't been particularly nice to women either. I don't know. The only reason that I've supported any candidate for the Republican Party is because it's Trump. Never supported a Republican before. I don't think they're particularly nice people in many cases.
Yeah, because you're alt-right. You're the speaker for the alt-right.
No, not the alt-right. Oh, you think I'm a white... Oh, okay, all right. Oh, dear. White super... I don't what?
Journalism is to say unbiased part of the news. But you give a completely biased news.
What do you mean by unbiased? Do you think the New York Times is unbiased? Do you think NPR is unbiased?
NPR is about the bias you can get.
Right. So what's an unbiased news source in your view? What's an unbiased source in your view? Give us an idea of what an unbiased source looks like in your view. Because it's my view that there's this sort of suggestion on the political left that, you know, the holy grail of journalism is to be unbiased, to just stick to the facts. This sort of fact-checking data journalism kind of mythology, which is really just political ideology masquerading as data-driven reporting. There's this sort of idea that there's this sort of holy grail of impartial reporting. Well, my view on this stuff is that you should be open and transparent about your political objectives in a way that the right is and the left is not. Open and transparent about your political objectives, and let readers make up their own minds. I've never claimed to be impartial. I think it's fairly obvious I have opinions, and everything I say should be taken, with that in mind. And you should go and listen to me, and you should also go and listen to feminists, and you should go and listen to Black Lives Matter activists, and you should work out who you like the best at the end of it. Now, the problem is you're listening to bad sources because you come here and you have sort of under your breath, almost not as loudly as you said anything else, but under your breath you sort of said, "Oh, white supremacists, blah blah blah." You kind of wanted to get it under the radar. You wanted to say it without me having an opportunity to dispute it. F you. How dare you call me a white supremacist?
Milo didn't just brush that off. He turned the entire room on edge with his explosive clapback. And trust me, it only gets more heated from here.
Oh, you're not leaving as well, are you?
Oh, actually,
Oh, come on. They always leave. They always leave. Defend your allegation that I'm a white supremacist. Defend your allegation that I'm a white supremacist. Defend your allegation that I am a white supremacist. You call me a white supremacist. Defend it.
supporting white supremacists.
Defending... Am I?
Like black guy.
Baby. See, the amount of black dick that's been in my mouth. It's really I must be the most self-loathing white supremacist in the world. I asked you, and I'm going to ask you, I'm going to give you one more opportunity to defend your allegation that I'm a white supremacist. Just try, do it.
Because you're enabling, because you have the main platform that is spreading.
What am I enabling? Because what I've talked about this evening isn't race or skin color, I've talked about values. And when the BBC did what you're attempting to do now, as 1.3 million people have seen on my YouTube channel, what they did was try to conflate an admiration for American values, for the First and Second Amendment, for freedom, democracy, property rights, capitalism. They tried to conflate that with race. They tried to say, if you're proud of your country, or you admire the values of another country, that somehow makes you a racist. It doesn't. So I ask you one final time, please justify your allegation that I'm a white supremacist.
As a journalist and a reach to millions of people, you have an obligation, and you are blowing it with this hateful rhetoric that's further dividing this country.
Hateful rhetoric? You're not answering the question. White supremacists hate me. The Daily Stormer is the epicenter of white supremacists on the internet. They declared a holy war on me. They said they would never read Breitbart again until Breitbart fired me. They said I was their #1 enemy. White supremacists and anti-Semites hate me.
That wasn't just a rebuttal. That was Milo unloading receipts, tearing down the accusation piece by piece, leaving the student literally scrambling for words.
I prefer the expression race mixing kike fag, but whatever. Sir, racists hate me. They hate me. Of course they do. So racists hate me, but I'm a white supremacist. You're just confusing me. You're confusing me. And I'm very easily confused because I'm a homosexual, but should we give him another chance? Give him one more chance. Okay. All right. Okay. One more try. I believe in you. I believe in you. I know you can do it. One more try. Justify your allegation. I didn't ask you if I was enabling white supremacists, which is just an equally idiotic allegation, but it's not the one you made. I'm asking you to justify your allegation that I'm a white supremacist. Please do so. All right. I think we've had enough. We've had enough fun at the expense of the disabled. Thank you very much. I'm sorry you're so stupid. Thank you very much, everybody. It's been wonderful. Thank you.
That wasn't just a response. It was an execution, and the audience knew they just witnessed a total annihilation. Moving on, we have Milo head-to-head with radical feminist Julie Bindle. The clash quickly spiraled into a fiery back and forth, but it was Milo's sharp finish that left the room buzzing.
We're in a situation now where students can go to university. They come out dumber than when they went in. They are infantilized by safe space and trigger warning culture. The idea that interrogating a new idea, coming into contact with a school of thought or a person that doesn't conform to your prejudices is somehow problematic, that it gives rise to trauma.
All my 35 years of unpaid activism disappeared because I was suddenly a vicious transphobe.
There is, and I agree with you that there is, an ugly underclass of women who suffer. There is an ugly underclass of men who suffer. They are the men who build the roads, the men who are steeplejacks, the men who drive oil trucks, the men who collect refuse from outside your house. Women don't want to do those jobs. They have nothing to say about the gender imbalance in those jobs. And if there is a patriarchy, it isn't doing a very good job of protecting men from the worst jobs in the world.
Well,
and that is why
you set up the system,
97...
They say But look, the British Crime Survey says men have ticked, yes, I've suffered domestic violence. When you look at the categories, do you know what they said? Special snowflakes. They said that they were being nagged. It was verbal abuse.
It's very much like the sexual assault on campus surveys, isn't it?
So when you actually...
Once again, Milo had the last word, delivering a knockout point that stopped the debate cold. Next up, this guest warns about fear and uncertainty surrounding Trump's rise, but Milo isn't buying it. His take on the matter, let's just say it flips the whole conversation on its head.
That's why we're in this situation, is because governments have failed to look after vast swathes of their population. People are feeling very disillusioned. But it does frighten me when I see this kind of team, this kind of administration, this kind of rhetoric. I mean, you're talking about the stuff that's been written about Steve Bannon. I read something today which just said he's phenomenally clever. I think there's no doubt about that. And to have manoeuvred to be where he is now, there's no doubt about that. But a lot of people are really frightened.
I think they're frightened. I think they're frightened with no cause. And one thing I would say about the prospective Trump White House, after 30 years of effectively progressive hegemony in the United States, of academia, of the media and the entertainment industry being totally ruled, not just by liberals, but by, social justice warrior progressives, Trump is actually the least bad thing that could ever have happened. Trump isn't particularly conservative. He is not some kind of brutal, free market rules everything kind of conservative. He's actually a very compassionate kind of conservative. He's actually on many issues a centrist. He doesn't mind about transgender bathrooms. He's perfect. He's great on gays. He really doesn't mind a lot of this
women
stuff.
Women who have abortion should be made to suffer for it.
Well, he made a few different comments on that. I wish he hadn't wavered on that. Who knows? But he was not exactly consistent on that issue, which is annoying. But as Republicans go, not necessarily as conservatives, as Republicans go, Trump is not particularly extreme.
But things didn't cool down for long. The next exchange only turned the heat up higher.
Nigel Farage is the most significant politician of our era. He has changed this country.
For sure.
But he is a failure. He cannot get elected to a seat.
Well, he got Brexit,
he's a much wider movement.
He's the Brit that Donald Trump called, and he won Brexit. I don't think you can really call him a failure just because he didn't get
We're supposed to have taken back control. Brits don't like Trump, and I think in the spirit that Nigel Farage embodies, we are supposed to not care what people in other countries think, and as such, I don't think the endorsement of Donald Trump will make any difference. I think the fact that UKIP are in a total mess at the moment, that he's had to step in and out of being leaders, being the leader of UKIP, that's what people are going to be looking at. Undoubtedly, he's an incredibly successful politician and he will go down in history. This is the age of Farage. Well done to him, although he is a failure. He is a failure. He's a failure as an MP. He's tried to be elected 7 times.
I agree with you. I think Trump is the best thing ever to happen to American politics, but I understand that Brits just don't like the guy. They don't like the bombast and the showmanship and the occasional sort of clownishness and whatever.
There's a bit more that they don't like. A lot of people are really worried and frightened about what he's going to do to the world.
I think that's all a bit overplayed. I think people just don't like him personally because he's that kind of personality that Brits just don't warm to. So I agree with you. I think endorsing Farage might do more harm than good.
We are kind of at the mercy of everybody else in all of this. They're sort of going around and flirting with people and hoping that they will sign trade deals. So far, we haven't got a whiff of anything.
Well, yes, called doing business, taking risks, the audacity of hope, as somebody once said. This is taking a risk and it's weird to me to hear. I don't know. It just hangs strangely in the air for me. That you're sad that we would take back control. It's a very strange thing to hear, because from my point of view, we now have a president in the White House who loves Britain, who wants to make connections with Britain. He might not be via the president. Well, he's putting the Churchill bust back, isn't he? I mean, he's spoken.
Does that mean he loves Britain because he wants a bust of Churchill instead of Martin Luther King?
These things are
of course more than that.
No.
It's replacing one statue with another.
It's a symbolic gesture that indicates that Trump will not continue Obama's policy of snubbing Britain. I mean, Obama was better friends with France and Germany than he was the UK. Trump is not going to do that. Very clearly and very obviously not going to do that. He's sending messages both symbolic and he's saying explicitly, that he thinks that this is a
But what about what he's saying about wanting to rip up trade deals and look after the interests of American workers?
Exactly.
Well, good for him and good for America, so they should, and we should be looking after our own interests.
Bad for us, and we're going cap in hand saying, "Oh, please be my friend."
We should be looking after our own interests too.
I'm not depressed at the idea of us taking control back if we really were, but I don't think we are. I think we're cutting ourselves adrift without any plan of what's happening, which has left us on the back foot where we're just begging people, please be our friend, begging different countries, and that's you know, it's a bit embarrassing.
But you know, that's the hit that we decided to. That's the hit that we decided to take. I mean, this was as much a cultural vote as an economic.
And that is when Milo proved again why his opponent struggled to keep up once he pushes back. Now we have Milo taking on a radical feminist, Rebecca, who thought she could corner him with the patriarchy argument. But watch how quickly it backfires.
Is that gender tends to be as it's presented, but other people who have a better experience of being not typically gendered seem to feel that it is a construction, so I'm more likely to listen to that. And I think my perception of it is that gender is more of a spectrum, and you get people at different ends of the spectrum that have different sort of characteristics at different parts. So it's unlike, I think it's sort of more of a broad church than just black and white.
Okay, would you catch one?
That's not what whether gender is constructed or not means. You were talking about sexual orientation. There is a biological.
Sorry, what were you talking about?
I meant gender. I think gender is a spectrum. Sorry, to be clear, I think gender is a spectrum.
Right. Gender is not socially constructed. That is a kooky progressive myth. Gender has a
Nah, that's fine.
What did I do now?
Just comes from
I can't say kooky.
You have every right to say kooky. Look, you may say kooky as much as you like. I would just prefer that there were points. Please continue.
You say kooky, Milo.
You said
Gender has a biological basis. Men are born men because of chromosomal factors, and they have hormones that mean that they develop in a particular way. Now, there are people who have strange medical conditions that buck that trend. But gender has a basis in biology, and most of what you will hear from feminists these days denies that basis in biology. And it needs to do that, because it needs to tell you that men can somehow be fixed. It wants to tell you that the way that men behave is somehow broken, somehow faulty, that masculinity is toxic. That's the sort of tradition from which a lot of Rebecca's writing flows from. And what it's seeking to demonstrate to you, what it's trying to persuade you of, is that there is something wrong with being a man. And we see this when young boys are held up to feminine behaviour standards. We see it when behaviour in the public square is determined by what it's acceptable for, how it's acceptable for a woman to behave. There is a very clear brain difference between men and women. Men and women think differently. They have different aptitudes. When a feminist tries to convince you, for example, that the reason there aren't more women in STEM subjects is that some sort of mystical, patriarchal energy, sorry for mystical, what they're trying to do is tell you that gender is a performance and a construct, and that there can be no biological basis for the differences between men and women. There's no evidence that women are being systematically discouraged or blocked from any of these courses. More women go to university these days. More women are going to be doctors.
For science?
Biology, veterinary medicine, yes, both of those things.
But what about other ones?
Well, this is the question. If you want to claim that there is some kind of, some sort of patriarchal force or some sort of sexism preventing women into going into physics and maths, you have to explain why there isn't one in medicine, veterinary science, or biology.
That's the thing about Milo. He doesn't just respond, he dismantles the very foundation of their talking points. Well, that wraps up the moments when Milo Yiannopoulos left his opponents completely speechless. Love him or hate him, one thing's for sure, he knows exactly how to turn any debate into pure chaos. If you enjoyed watching these jaw-dropping clashes, don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and stay tuned.